fresh off the local roller rinks. A kid who maybe figures she's tired of the cows and chickens or an assembly line or slinging hash. A kid who comes around when the roller derby hits her town and asks one of the coaches for a tryout and gets signed up with the New York team. A kid like that, like Gene Porter, worries a lot about the rails because they're not only a natural hazard, but because the old-timers like to rough the rookies up a little. Put a little fear in them. Keep them from competing for the newspaper headlines and the extra dough that goes with being a roller derby star. See what I mean? And as you lie there kind of groggy, you hear a voice, a special voice, and it's saying your name. It's saying, go after her. You go get her. So you're up somehow. You go after Tuppy. Let her worry about the rails now. And she goes down hard, and the whistle blows. It's the end of the period. The men take over. The game goes on.
I know there's a roller derby here in Montreal. Like, what is that about? Like, from the outside, it just looks like a lot of women who are just basically skating around a rink, beating the crap out of each other.
Well, I know it looks kind of confusing, but I mean, it's sort of not. Well, also men play roller derby too. There's men's roller derby as well. But okay, yeah. So roller derby. Short version, there was a revival in like 2001 in Austin and Seattle, somehow at the same time. Anyway, there's whole documentaries about it. I get complicated, but I won't. Anyway, so roller derby now, I know it still looks crazy. Basically, you're trying to get, well, I've tried to explain this a lot of times, and I'm still not any good at it. There's 2 teams, and you each have 5 players on the track at the same time, and, well, optimally, assuming nobody's in the penalty box. So anyway, the jammer is the one with the star on the helmet, and you are trying to get your jammer through, and you're trying to keep the other jammer back. So you want to get points and at the same time prevent the other team from getting points. So, and if you are the jammer, you just want to make it through and crush the other jammer's soul and, get points and move on with life.
How do you get points though? I mean, is it if you go around the track? Is that how you get points?
Well, I mean, you get points. Yes and no. You get 1 point for every player on the other team that you pass.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, so, you can get up to 5 points per pass.
Yeah, you said there are penalties, so it's not like a free-for-all. It's not like Mad Max or anything.
Oh, no. Well, actually, when it restarted, it was a little more like a free-for-all, like people were actually fighting and stuff. But then they realized, I mean, not the league I was in. This is just from like watching documentaries about it. Anyway, so yeah, when it did restart, there was more fighting. But then eventually someone realized if you're busy beating somebody up, it makes it harder for your team to get your jammer through. So, because then that's, people busy somewhere else. Anyway, so now there isn't really fighting. The penalties are for lots of things. Like, you can't elbow someone. You obviously can't, hit someone with your helmet on purpose. You can't trip someone or kick someone or, punch someone or, I wouldn't do any of that anyway. If you fight in roller derby, you get, I think it's automatic ejection from the bout. I'm not sure. See, I was never very good at the rules.
But like, I mean, how long, you were doing the roller derby for 4 years though in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And do they have like team captains and stuff? Is there like a hierarchy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's complicated. Okay, so roller derby, as far as I know right now, there are 3 leagues, and so, they're all independent, but they all, sort of network, whatever. They all sort of know each other, and they all play each other and practice together and whatever. But if you want to go, but then within the leagues, there's like they're travel teams. It really depends on how many skaters you have.
Okay.
But within a league, there are travel teams and there are home teams, and the teams have team captains, and then you get into hierarchy.
This week, I'd like to welcome Erin Cox. Erin has experience doing broadcasting, roller derby, and she also was a sonar technician.
Yep.
That's you are doing broadcasting now. You have this really entertaining podcast called Fancy Cast Podcast.
I'm glad you like it.
Yes, and it's a lot like this podcast in that it's not one of those cookie cutter podcasts. I mean, not that I have any problem with a podcast that has a very clearly delineated topic. It's more like daytime radio, I guess, your podcast, where you have the same personality, but you have different guests. That said, I mean, I know in the last episode of Fancy Cast that I listened to, at least, you guys, you and a friend of yours broke down Hercules. I've also heard you guys talk about cookbooks. Oh, yep. And heavy metal.
Of course.
And so this is like the total I guess wide array of topics, and you were actually also discussed the nearby chicken sandwich outlet. It's like a business model focused on chicken salad sandwiches. It's like, don't have time to go to the Legion dinner this afternoon? Oh, stop off here.
Yeah, chicken salad has never been on the top of my list. I'm never like, damn, I need me some chicken salad right now. So it seems like an odd thing to focus on. I don't know.
Maybe it's sort of like one of those deals where, you have like those cooking shows where they just take like, I don't know, a tub full of Spam or something, and they say, okay, now you're going to make something delicious out of this.
Yeah, every day she just decides, I'm going to make chicken salad, and decides what kind. I don't know. But, I could be wrong. It could be like the next cupcakes. Maybe chicken salad is going to be, maybe it's the wave of the future. I shouldn't make fun of a business owner, I guess. But yeah, it seems a little too focused to me.
Behind every submarine is a command and an administrative organization especially adapted to undersea warfare, essential to the support and combat efficiency of the operating submarine. It is responsible for training and assignment of personnel, planning new installations, repairs, tests, and maintenance for logistics. A complete supply system designed to meet the specialized and diverse needs of submarines. So, like, when you were in the Navy, I mean, were you an actual... You enlisted in the Navy?
Yeah, I was an enlisted person. Because, there's officer and there's enlisted and there's this weird thing in between. But I was enlisted. So anyway, yeah. So I was a sonar technician. I was on a destroyer. There was a ship, whatever. I was in San Diego. Then for a while I was in Japan. And then I got out of the Navy. Let's see. And then I was like a federal contractor for a while. The boring kind. And then, I don't know. I've just moved a lot. And then, okay. So when I got to Connecticut, I guess we'll pick up at roller derby. When I got to Connecticut, there was a roller derby league forming. And, I helped form it. And then roller derby it sucks you in. So that was sort of like almost like half of my life for like 4 years. And then I broke myself. And then I was like, I should do other things. And then I remembered broadcasting school. And then I went to broadcasting school. And then a little after that, we moved. And I tried to get into radio. And I did in Minnesota. Well, we moved to Minnesota.
From Park Rapids, Minnesota, from KPRM AM and FM.
Vacation Land Radio. KPRM 1240 Park Rapids.
The KK Radio Network.
The KK Radio Network, which I checked out the website, and it was set up by this guy whose name now I don't have in my notes. God damn it! But Ed Del something.
De La Hunt. Yeah, it's also De La Hunt Broadcasting.
Right.
It's been there for 50 years. It's a heritage station, which means it has the original, letters in the name. It's a family-owned business. They have a whole bunch of kids, and they all have a station. It was fun to work at and great to, learn everything there. So yeah, it's interesting though.
Yeah, I mean, I saw if you go to the website, you can see like how small this station is, and I mean. They've got Ed there. He's got his own show, his own morning show, and then you've got all kinds of other things. I actually was able to tune in for a while, and I got to learn about, where to get the best furniture prices in Park Rapids.
Heck yeah,
yeah, and actually, I went to the website, and I went to the opportunities department on the website, and it says. The KK Radio Network is looking for a part-time board op to run local ball games. High school age on up, will train, need to be dedicated, fast learner, and most of all reliable.
Yep.
Is that the sort of thing that you did for a while?
Yeah, because, there's actually a few radio stations up there in northern Minnesota. We were there because I'm from there. So there's actually a few stations in the area. Radio, you just gotta find, your way in, And I had my air check, and I sent it other places, and I had an interview at public radio, but they didn't want me, so whatever. Anyway, like anywhere else, if you can actually just stop somewhere and see someone face to face, that's much better than just emailing them your resume, right? So I went there, and also that day, the traffic woman, I could explain traffic. Anyway, whatever. They found out one of their office people was going to be leaving too. So the next day, they called and said, hey, come interview because we think we have more than just part-time hours. I would have been interested in just board operating. So, yeah, that's how I ended up starting there. It was half traffic, half on air.
Traffic, but I mean, the population of this town is like 2,000, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but see, traffic for radio and, also TV, it's organizing the commercials.
Oh,
I think it's called traffic because it can be busy. So, yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
Traffic and billing, and then I would do that stuff in the morning, and then I'd go downstairs and do on-air stuff, and then at night when they had football games, I was one of the board operators. So that's probably why they have that posted, because football's coming up. And then it's hockey, and then it's basketball.
And so when you were there, I also noticed that one of the job requirements is protect stations licensed by censoring live programs and deleting words and phrases not permitted on air.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have like a bleep button that you could push?
No, I never really had to. I'm surprised they have that on there. But all radio stations are governed by the FCC, and there are lots of requirements you have to meet. And I think they got in trouble once. Nobody actually swore. I'd be very surprised if anybody actually swore on the radio. But somebody thought... in radio, you gotta cover your ass. And also... with Ed's talk show, there are people in the area that don't like him, and they do listen to try to get him in trouble. So
they troll Ed, basically.
Kind of, yeah, you could. Usually the people who call during his show love him, and they're listeners, and they're with him 100%. But there are people who will call up and be like, "You're an idiot." Click.
The name of the show is Coffee Time, right? That's every morning. So you would have listened to that, and this building looks like it has nothing near it. It's just like in a field somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, most stations are kind of in the middle of nowhere, to tell you the truth, because a lot of times they're right next to the transmitter towers.
Oh, okay.
So, a lot of them are in the middle of nowhere. But it is kind of, whatever. I mean, people around there, you look to the right, boom, there's the station. It's pretty big, but, I mean, it's not big, but it's definitely noticeable, because there's the two huge transmitter stations, and it's next to a rodeo. So,
wow.
Yeah. And auction house.
Wow, we got it covered. So cowboy hats, you see many of them over there in that part of town? That part of the, or is it more like farmers there kind of deal?
It's not a lot of, well, it's kind of a little bit of everything. There are farms. It's not like Iowa. There's a lot of, I don't know, man. There's a lot of trees. There's some manufacturing. There's also like the potato plant outside the town. That's another thing. Yeah.
Wow.
It's Minnesota. It's small town Minnesota. It's great. I mean, I don't mean to get, okay. A lot of people think that radio is going to disappear. Like either station has to be huge and like cover the land, or it's crap. But I mean, we do need local radio for some places because, I mean, even if all it is weather and high school sports, somebody needs that,
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, I was just thinking of Minnesota because I lived in Saskatchewan for a while. I actually grew up there for a bit. And the Minnesota-Saskatchewan dynamic, I'm assuming, there are some similarities there probably. I know it's flat and really cold in where I was. And it's probably pretty flat in Minnesota and pretty damn cold too.
Yeah. I mean, that's what everybody, yeah. Well, not now, but in the winter, sure.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, was there fierce weather? Were you ever in that place and you're like, oh my God, I think the tower is going to be struck or something?
No, when it gets cold, you have to do some extra like tower stuff, which, I mean, for me is transmitter towers, at least those, you have to like call them and you call them on the phone and it's this little robot voice that like reads readings for you. So there's one time one of them got cold and like turned off, but I just... So
you guys have robots living on top of the tower and you call them up and they tell you how it's going?
No, it's just a robot voice that like reads the transmitter ratings to you, because that's another thing for the FCC. You have to monitor your power and all that stuff. But if it did get too cold, you'd have to like warm it up differently. It's,
Oh, so you like turn on the you don't have to go out there and climb up the tower though, right? That would be crazy.
No. You just call it. Yeah, no, people who do that get paid a lot of money.
I can only imagine. That would scare the crap out of me.
Yeah, I only had to do like the first level of tower stuff, which is call it and, warm it up. Because 3 of the stations, they need like the transmitters. You got to call them and wake them up on Sundays. And I would go in on Sundays and be like babysit the station. Turn on the transmitter, stuff like that.
So this is like Sunday morning, probably cold and dark, and you're there trying to get the station up and running?
Yeah. Well, 3 of the stations would go on their own, but usually. But then the other ones, I have to call them and turn them on, and and they very old school, like they start on, I think on 7, on Sunday it starts at 7 and they play the national anthem, and then boom. Then it's radio identifier. If you ever wonder why radio stations are like, you're listening to blah 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 out of this thing, da 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 da, then it's because that's another FCC thing you have to have. So then they do that, and then on Sundays it was usually church.
There you go. So you went to Orlando, and was that? I mean, that's so that you can start working at another radio station, which is the Wolf.
Yeah,
Wolf FM. So like when you're down there, I mean, what they got you doing? So you're just basically running the board there so far. I saw a picture. You looked absolutely thrilled to be there at the board.
For my selfies, that is a grin. Like,
and it looks like a bigger station compared to the KK radio network.
Well, yeah, it's major market radio. I'm just starting out here. Like I voice track, which is record ahead of time. I voice track overnights Thursday and Friday because I'm on from like midnight to 5. Woo! So, and then I run the board for some remote things. And I got a lot of time this weekend, so that was fun. So yeah, there's definitely a style difference from northern Minnesota to Orlando.
So do you have like regular Minnesota talk, and then do you have like broadcast talk?
I guess. Well, okay, so the station's up there. You hear me just go, okay. But
Okay.
the station's up there was a lot of, news and weather. So then, you talk a little slower. Plus, a lot of the stations, a lot of their listeners are older. So you had to, like, speak not as slow as I'm speaking now. But, like, with energy, but not too slow or too fast. Or else someone will call and say that you're speaking too slow. And then the next day, someone will call and say, that news lady's speaking too fast, which actually does happen. So... so you got to talk a little more like this and kind of friendly and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But then here, you do the breaks in between the songs, So you got to talk much faster and you got to open with a liner, and I just started talking slower. So, let's see. So up there it'd be like, so here's the news for the... Well, not like that. It'd be like, I'm Erin Cox. Here's your local news, But... down here, it's Orlando's home for country hits and throwbacks. I think I'm not even being loud enough, but it's much louder. And did you know that there's a Garth Brooks concert coming up? We got your tickets. We're giving them away all week. Listen at 8, 12, and 2,
Yeah.
Here's a song. You're listening to The Wolf. So, yeah.
So you're yelling into that mic, basically.
I feel like I'm yelling, yeah.
Well, there's also probably a cultural difference, too. I mean, like, Minnesota, you guys are really close. I mean... You're like American Canadians. I mean, I could kind of relate to...
that's fine, yeah.
It's like, okay. I mean, I lived in Saskatchewan, and I bet you there's probably more cultural similarity between someone from Minnesota and Saskatchewan, just because they're both... the climate's the same. I mean, there's many cultural similarities.
Yeah.
Whereas Orlando, things are kind of louder down there, maybe. So like New York City.
Like stations up there, it's totally fine to have like silence for a second, if you're switching CDs or something. But up here, I was running the board and I think I got like 1 second of silence and in between like the dude talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Probably no one else noticed but me, but I was like,
quick, find some
I was
music.
trying to be perfect, and it just, I know. I didn't hit start next and there was a second of silence. My bad, man. I mean, he was cool with it, but I was like, no. So, you got to keep moving.
That's pretty, that can be pretty intense. So I was doing a little more stalking of your Twitter feed, and I noticed that you seem to be a fairly big fan of RuPaul and the Golden Girls.
They go together really well. Not even kidding. It's because... Well, RuPaul's Drag Race is on right now. All Stars 2,
Exactly.
they're almost to the finale.
Speak about culture shock. I mean, I don't know. I guess I may have, being in Montreal, I guess I might have this like strange idea about attitudes towards RuPaul, perhaps potentially in super small town Minnesota.
Oh, well, I wouldn't really talk about that much in Minnesota, I think one time I searched for a RuPaul song on a jukebox and it didn't even come up. And that, I paid for the search and it didn't even come up. But, there's not a lot of people I have to talk about RuPaul, or even at work, because, I mean, I work with most, a bunch of dudes.
Okay, so I'm just guessing that RuPaul doesn't really feature very much even with your work, because I don't see a country RuPaul link, really.
I don't think RuPaul's ever done like a country album or a country song or anything. They went country for one episode and it didn't go well because everybody just wore jeans, and they were like, you can't be a drag queen and wear jeans, and then they had a whole thing about that. So anyway, no, I guess I don't talk about RuPaul. I listen to the podcast a lot at work, so that's
as far as it goes. So I can't wait to hear when you do finally get behind the mic at a time where I can actually hear it, because I don't know. I mean, you're going to just be playing music, or you're going to be doing DJ stuff, right? You're not going to be having a talk show or anything like that.
Yeah, no, you just get to, right now they just talk in between the songs. I think the morning guy has a show, and the afternoon guy has I don't know. You just gotta claw your way up the ladder, I guess.
There you go.
So,
I guess
I'm not even by the ladder.
No, I guess that's the take home here, is that through the years you've kind of grab the rope and like clawed your way up the side of the cliff, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could probably bring a lot of that back to roller derby and the Navy because, I don't know. You just got to figure out what's next, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'd say roller derby made me more determined and more like, fuck, I can do this, whatever,
No, they don't give up. They stick right in there. Because it has its good points, too. Something that kind of dawns on you like life itself. And you don't just quit because of the danger or because the going's rough. You don't quit when you get banged around. You don't quit because you're scared or hurt. No, sir. You get up and you start going around again.
So, Erin, thanks so much for being on the show. It's really interesting to know about your life as a Navy person, roller derby person, and radio person.
Well, I hope I gave you enough to work with, and thanks for having me on.
Well, that's it for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed the interview with Erin and learned a bit about roller derby and working in a real-life radio station as well. Remember, you can listen to Erin over at her podcast, FancyCast. There'll be a link in the show notes, but I'm pretty sure if you just search for FancyCast Podcast, you'll be able to find that as well using the Google. So go subscribe to her podcast right now, unless you haven't subscribed to my podcast. In that case, please subscribe to my podcast first, and then go subscribe to hers. Remember, you can find a handy-dandy link to subscribe to my podcast over at shareaslicepodcast.com. Also, there's a contact form there as well in case you happen to be an interesting sort of person who'd like to be on the show, or you happen to know some sort of weirdo who'd like to be on the show as well. Remember, I'm always looking for new people. You'll also find links to most of the various samples and songs and things that are used on this podcast as well, including the intro and outro themes that are done by Chromatics Music, and they've graciously provided that to us since almost the very first episode. So anyway, thanks so much for listening to this episode, and I really hope you'll be back again for the next one.